Welcome to the Sustainability of IM Results webcast. I would now like to turn the webcast over to Marlon Tostefers. Please go ahead.
Thank you. Welcome, everyone, to this webcast. Today, we're going to look at this. This is the outline. The introduction of the EHR project and deployment plans, presented by Mats Sundgren from AstraZeneca. Then we will have governance and the role of the European Institute for Innovation through Health Data with Deepak Kalra from Eurorec. Scaling up with the Insight platform, an EHR for CR service platform by David Watts from Custodix. And then we'll have a Q&A. Please note that you're all on mute, so you have a Q&A button on your left. Just click it and type in your questions, and we will answer that in the end of the session. I will now hand over to Mats Sundgren, the coordinator for this project.
So thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Mats Sundgren from AstraZeneca. I am the coordinator for the electronic health records for clinical research projects. I will take you through the introduction and a short introduction about what the project is about and the status and deployment plans. So the EHR for CR project is within the IMI framework of research initiative. It started off in 2011 and ends in 2016. It consists of 35 partners from industry and academy. And the objectives of EHR for CR is to provide and develop a platform, technical platform for trustworthy reuse of EHR data across European countries, and thereby unlocking real-world health data to optimize clinical research and trials operation. The status of the project is it has been extended additional year, and that the year, which is 2015 and 2016, is to make two important tasks. It's actually to take what we have developed within the project, take that into a sustainable environment, and take the services into a real-world environment. The other thing is to initiating the first deployment activities is what we call the Champion program, which is to connect new hospitals to the operational platform, which has been a further development of the R&D platform, and building up experience with pharma and hospitals of actually using the services in a real context. In addition to that is to, within the project, we have also a very important task, and that is the governance function of this evolving ecosystem. And that governance will take the shape of the newly initiated European Institute for Innovation through Health Data, which will be an independent governance body for these ecosystem. So the EHR for CR main objectives has been focused on three use cases, which then has been transformed into performing services on the platform. The first one is the protocol testing from EHR data, which allows sort of sending queries in respect to inclusion-exclusion criteria, for example, for real protocols. The second service is to identify, which is a build on the first service, is the patient identification and the recruitment service. And the third one is actually to facilitate EHR data extraction to pre-filling electronic case report forms. In the present case, in the Champion program, we will actually be able to test the first two services on the network. So the EHR for CR project, for its first 4 years, actually consisted of 35 partners, including 10 pharma companies, 11 hospitals in 5 countries, and also supporting networks of advisory boards and other experts. So the project, where the project is right now, is that we have gone through the first 4 years. We have validated, tested different pilots of the first 2 services across different studies, across the 11 partner hospitals within the project. And we are now sort of past the graduation time, as is focused actually to build an operational pan-European platform taking the first two services into operation and actually scaling up the technology solution, operations solution, governance solution, and sustainability. So this is a very exciting step for the project, and this is what we're going to do in the extension year. So this first important deployment activity is what we call the Champion program. It will commence this autumn and continue throughout the 2016. It will be a multi-stakeholder collaboration, aiming to actually accelerate and ensure that the solutions that the project has developed can reach to a growing ecosystem. The main actors in the Champion program consist of a selected number of pharmaceutical companies who has committed to spend more resources into the project, new Champion hospitals to be connected, and this will be as the first EHR for CR service provider, which is Custodix, to be the service provider in taking this into operation. This will also be a very important opportunity to work with a partnership with other service provider. And of course, in the Champion program, we will also put the Institute as the important governing mechanism for building up this network. The Champion program will also involve a joint validation plan, as I will talk in a couple of minutes. So the value for pharma and research organization, given the scope of the project, is that it will allow a better trial design by actually being able to query protocols directly on the platform. And what I think is very innovative is to get a real-time response back from the connecting hospitals. That is a kind of solution that doesn't exist today, at least not from a European perspective. It will also be a quicker achieved recruitment targets, given that the connected hospitals can provide much more feedback to the platform and the pharmas who is using the platform, which will overall become a very much more increased efficiency. Value for hospital is, of course, the Champion hospitals that we are aiming to be part of the Champion program is hospitals that is already principal investigators among the participating pharma companies. And of course, one important thing is that it could enhance reputation, better quality of data for those hospitals that actually connect to the platform. And they will also be able to access tools, which they are not able to do otherwise. The initial services I said in the Champion program is to test in a real setting the protocol feasibility services, which could actually optimize protocol criteria in a real-time fashion, and also to more directly identify specific sites which could be subject for patient recruitment. And as a summary of the Champion program is that currently we have an agreed 7 FBI Champion companies who will actually constitute the first Champion user group from a pharmaceutical standpoint. So it's Amgen, AstraZeneca, Bayer, JSK, Janssen, Roche, and Sanofi. And the target is that we will connect 3 hospitals of preference per company to be connected to the platform, which allows us during the Champion program to be able to have more plus 20 hospitals where we will try actually run the services on the platform. This will also be an important test bed to validate the platform, but also I think to make that very clear is that this is to test actually run services in a real fashion. The Champion program will be, of course, also an important test bed to evaluate the financial model, which is going to be rolled out. Secondly, it will also be an very important opportunity to work with hospitals and also to do publications of the joint validation of this growing ecosystem of hospitals. And it will also be a discussion and opportunity to identify more elaborative services that could come up of this, and of course also attract new hospitals and new service provider. And furthermore, which will be is to also being engaged with the Institute in securing that the code of conduct in this ecosystem is secured, and that will be an important part of the Institute. So with that, I will hand over to Deepak Kalra, who is going to talk more about the Institute. So over to you, Deepak.
Thank you very much, Mats. So good afternoon to many of you, and good morning to some of you on this webinar. I'm going to tell you about how we are building on the work of EHR4CR under these headings of sustainability and governance through this organization called the European Institute for Innovation Through Health Data. And I will progressively also indicate to you how this is forming part of the Champion program and supporting the use of the platform and the services, which David will take you through after I finish speaking. So let me just take one step back first, if you like, and just indicate really that when we look at the uses of health data, there are a set of challenges which are appearing before you now on the screen, which are actually in common between healthcare and clinical research. All of the stakeholders who create and use health data need to invest more energy in improving the quality of the data. We need interoperability between disparate health systems, different healthcare systems, and there are many initiatives already and standards, but a lot more needs to be done to help improve that interoperability so that data can be co-interpreted across systems and across countries. You all know that there are major concerns about privacy and about data protection in particular, and indeed even just a couple of days ago the safe harbor status was withdrawn by the European Parliament as one example of the fact that this is a real crucible of tension and difficulty right across our parts of the world. And of course, as you've gathered from what Matt said, we're very, very keen not only to have sustainability in the near term through the Champion program, but to really grow a long-term sustainable ecosystem in which there are multi-way wins in favor of reusing health data for research. And so, as a punchline, as it were, we determined that there was a reasonable case during the project to create a new not-for-profit institute, which is called the European Institute for Innovation Through Health Data. And its starting point is indeed the EHR4CR post-project Champion program world. But it's not limited. Okay, I'm sorry about that. So I'll just press on. So this institute was formed as part of a number of different initiatives coming together, and it is a registered not-for-profit international organization. So we formed this institute in order to play a central role in governing the EHR4CR platform services that are being provided by Custodix as the post-project Champion provider, but also to grow a trustworthy environment for the future uses of real-world data across Europe. We also need to promote the adoption of standards, the better adoption of standards that exist, and new generations of standards that combine the standards used in clinical research, for example, through CDISC, with those used in healthcare. Terminology systems like SNOMED CT and standards bodies like HR7 need to come together. Another really important agenda, which I'll mention at the end, is to promote the uses of health data to society, because at the moment there is far too much negative press about research uses of health data. So slide 18. So in terms of how we ensure trustworthiness of the platform, The first and very important message is that the data that EHR4CR accesses is segregated from the main hospital EHR system. The data are held in a de-identified data warehouse. It's pseudonymized, and the hospital is fully in control of which data is placed into that repository and confirming always that EHR4CR can access it. Another very important governance measure is that when the queries are executed, as you will see from David's demonstration, only aggregated patient data leaves the hospital. And finally, we will exercise through the Institute a wider range of governance services, which are detailed on slide 19. The Institute, IHD for short, will first and foremost certify the platform and the services that are deployed in the Champion program and thereafter against a set of conformance criteria using very well research developed certification methodologies. So we will verify that the platform being deployed conforms to the EHR4CR specifications and that it conforms to the appropriate information security measures. We will also supply to hospitals and to pharma staff competences that we expect to be met by people using the EHR4CR platform and services and tools, information governance and privacy protection skills and basic research governance skills. We will gradually develop with hospitals in collaboration education and training resources so that as they get new staff in post, it becomes quick and easy to bring them up to speed. And finally, importantly, we will develop an overarching governance infrastructure. We are about to appoint a governance board, and we are developing finally now some oversight and audit policies so that we will monitor the use of the platform while it's running the Champion program and thereafter. And we will ensure that we are notified of all issues that arise and have appropriate escalation and inspection policies for that. Slide 20 just lists as examples some of the kinds of principles that I've mentioned just now. What I will just emphasize that it didn't say previously is that there are also extensive audit trails throughout the infrastructure. Custodix is, I'm pleased to say, a well-recognized security expert organization, and all through the project, audit trail architectures were put in place. Security by design, so it really is well designed for that purpose, and we will check and make sure through the audit logs that appropriate queries are run and appropriate data are disclosed. Next slide, please. Part of what we have already developed is standard operating rules and standard operating procedures that will apply in all of the points within the ecosystem. That is at the hospital end, at the pharma end, and inside the service provider, Custodix. I think I've mentioned the other things on this slide, so in interest of time, I'll suggest we move on to the next slide. Slide 22, please. An important aspect of the standard operating rules that we've developed are that they are context specific. That means there are rules that apply to the protocol feasibility service that Matt's described, and also others that apply to the patient identification and recruitment scenario. There are controls that are defined for each of the different roles that staff members may play. Some of those people may be authoring queries and running them from a research sponsor site. Others may be working in a hospital populating a data warehouse from an ICT background. Others may be research staff who are going through a set of shortlisted patients as candidates for recruitment in a study. For each of these kinds of role, we have defined what accesses they should have, what training or competence they should be we should be assured that they have, and what functions they should be allowed to perform. Next slide, please. I mentioned that it is really important for us to certify the reliability and trustworthiness of the platform. So we have in place now a library of conformance criteria, which we are just refining. And later on in the year, we will actually undertake a formal assessment of the platform And if it passes, which I hope it will, I'm kind of expecting it to, but we have to make sure, we will then issue a certificate of conformity to the specifications. Not only is this relevant to the Champion program in the short term, but we really believe that this approach to quality assuring the tools and services that get used in a research reuse context, if we do provide an assurance to the communities of purchasers and to society that things have been checked, validated, and are certain to be giving trustworthy results so that they have integrity as well as privacy protection, that this will help stimulate the market in good quality products and actually help support the future availability of solutions for this kind of challenge. So we see it as not just relevant to this immediate Champion program, but a real market stimulus for the future. Next slide, please. I've mentioned staff competence a little bit. We have already developed a checklist of staff competences and a code of conduct and ethics, which determines the kinds of behaviors that staff should be trained in and also what skills and competences. I've listed there in the second half of the slide examples of the ethical side to do with working to professional standards and rights and interests of staff, etc. The reason why this is important is because as we start to move between classical clinical research undertaken by staff who are GCP trained and move into the world of the hospitals and their ICT staff and research staff perhaps and clinical staff who are more used to operating in a clinical care context, there is a need to ensure we have a commonality of ethical standards. So many of the staff working in a hospital ICT department don't know what GCP means, for example, and certainly that many people who are delivering clinical care, who are capturing and using clinical data, may be involved in using EHF or CR tools. We need to be certain that they understand the importance of what they're doing and the relevance of these codes of conduct. Next slide, please. I wanted to just mention briefly the governance board that we are poised to appoint. The governance board will be active from later this year, and it will provide oversight of the platform. It will confirm that all of the instruments we've been developing are sound, and this governance board will contain a number of people who've not been connected hitherto with the program, and therefore they represent an external peer review of everything. They will check and confirm that everything is certified and that the staff have been accredited. They will have rights to review incidents and escalation logs on a regular basis. They will investigate incidents and, if needed, apply escalation remediation measures. They will provide reports that assure the executive board of our institute, key stakeholders, and the public that everything is running well, or that if there are issues, they have been dealt with appropriately and transparently. And finally, importantly, because this is an evolving landscape, you all know, I think now we are expecting a regulation any day now on data protection, but also other measures may take place, including whatever evolves in the EU-US dimension of privacy protection. So we would expect through our governance board to have a monitoring of the landscape and to keep advising us on how we may need to modify our instruments or our policies in order to remain fully compliant and always demonstrating the very best of practices, because we have to go the extra mile in order to really assure the public that this is something that they can have confidence in and trust. The next slide just lists as an example the kinds of expertise and representation that we would have in this governance board, and as you can see, it's quite a range of expertise, but we are in particular looking, if you look at pharma as a keyword there, you see the pharma input we want is regulatory expertise. What we are wanting to do is to make sure that this governance board does not contain the strongly interested parties, which is why also the service provider is only listed here as an observer, because we need this board to be seen to be upholding an independence from the players who have a vested interest in the ecosystem itself. The last slide, I think, before I hand over to David, is this slide, which is listing the larger number of stakeholders that we need to engage with. We don't have an emergency to engage with every one of these on day one in the coming weeks, but these are the various actors in the landscape that we wish to engage as the Institute IHD moves forward, because they all have a role to play in the research reuses of health data, real-world data ecosystem. We already engage with many of them, but we intend to engage with a wider range still, because we need to understand the drivers, the initiatives, and the enablers that they carry to help us all make better uses of health data. So I had planned to stop there, but I can see on the slide there are a couple of more slides that we could jump over and go straight to 31 to David, if that's all right.
Okay, thank you, Deepak. My name is David Foots. I work for Custodix. Custodix is the first EHR4CR service provider. I'm going to give you a very brief overview of Insight, which is an EHR4CR compliance service platform supporting the EHR4CR use cases. So just to give you a quick overview of how the platform works, on the left side you can see the hospital, so the data provider, which is provided a piece of software that is to be installed locally within the hospital to make sure that all the queries run, but also to offer applications that can be used locally, for instance, for recruitment, for offering a recruitment dashboard and so forth. And this piece of software connects to the EHR4CR platform, which is a central platform offering a number of applications and infrastructure services towards users and towards systems connecting to the platform. And on the right side, you can see the research center, so that could be a pharmaceutical company or a CRO that would like to make use of a number of applications offered by the platform to support any of the different use cases being addressed, for instance, to conduct protocol feasibility studies or to manage patient recruitment follow-up within a running trial. And so, as was already stated before, what goes over this platform are simply queries, and what goes back is simply counts. We're not exchanging any personal information on the level of the central platform. Everything that is interacting with personal data is being done locally within the piece of software within the hospital environment. Same goes for recruitment, where the data flows are just about exchanging study metadata and recruitment progress numbers towards the study sponsor. Now, a couple of words about Insight. So, as I said before, Insight is an EHR4CR service platform. It's actually an evolution of the prototype that was developed within the EHR4CR research project, and it combines know-how and technologies from various other research projects and offers a more extensive management infrastructure that is needed to build a sustainable network of data provider sites throughout Europe. So this is actually the platform that is going to be used within the EHR4CR Champion program, and this will allow to transition from the EHR4CR research project to a sustainable European network of clinical sites. So to give you an overview of which applications are offered on the Insight platform, what we are targeting to offer by the end of this year is on the central platform side, protocol feasibility service, for which I'm going to show you a live demo later on, but also patient identification and recruitment service, as well as site management for managing site relations and site metadata. And on the local side, within the data provider side, the hospitals, computer-assisted patient recruitment application to engage within the recruitment workflows, and a cohort selection analysis tool that can be used for various types of uses within the hospital environment, offering a patient-level view based on formalized eligibility criteria. Just to give you an overview of where we where we started from within the HR4CR project setting, and taking this further to a sustainable platform to start doing this European network, is starting from this platform that is operational for live environments. We took the time and the efforts needed to redesign the user experience, so to offer a better user experience, to increase robustness and performance of the system, to allow easier installation at clinical sites. So we actually offer a pre-configured bundle of software that can be easily installed within a clinical site, so that just the data, the extracted data, and the information to connect to the local terminologies needs to be provided, and then basically you're good to go. And also the system is being prepared to iteratively allow updates with new functionality whilst the system is already operational. So basic focus points were a reduction of time to connect to a site by providing a standardized ETL process. We also started dealing with unstructured data by engaging with partner vendors, by allowing from non-structured data to capture additional data into structured form within the clinical data warehouse that is used for querying on the platform. And we also expanded the core data sets supported for querying and on the platform, and for query execution at the local sites. So what I would like to show you briefly is a demo of the protocol feasibility application that is available to users on the platform. So I'm going to share my desktop, and I'm going to connect to the demo environment. The demo environment is a version of the platform to which a set of 4 synthetic sites are connected. And these synthetic sites actually contain the same set of data, being 200 diabetes mellitus patients. I hope you can see it. So I'm currently on the dashboard, and from this dashboard I can create a new study. And in this study I can manage a number of queries that I can share with my colleagues working for the same organization. And these set of queries are actually, we call them word sets, but it's basically a query that I can work on and I can create new versions of. And within this query I can specify inclusion and exclusion criteria. And these are formalized criteria, and these are going to be translated into a query that can be readily executed within the connected data provider sites. So as you can see now, hopefully, is a protocol builder where I have a pane of inclusion and exclusion criteria. So let me just start away by adding a very simple inclusion criterion. I'm looking for patients that are more than 18 years old. Next, I would like to include patients with a body mass index between 25 and 40, so I can use a terminology search function. And I just enter this text, and you can see that the results are categorized according to type of finding. So I'm interested in this clinical finding. So when I select this finding, I can just drag and drop it from this tree with all the terms that I can choose from. So I'm interested in the last reading of body mass index for patients that is more than 25 kilograms per square meter. And at the same time, I want it to be also less than 40 kilograms per square meter. Okay. I would also like to include a lab reading, and I'm also going to show you some of the more complex criteria. I can specify temporal constraints. In this case, I want a certain event to happen a certain amount of time before or after another one. So let's say that I would like to look for patients with a hemoglobin value, A1C value. So there it is. I will drop this within the first placeholder of this query, and I want the value to be more than 7%, let's say. And I'm also looking for diabetes mellitus type 2 patients. So I will have to look in the diagnosis subtree. You can see this is a complete ICD-10 set of chapters. There is also actually a feature where you can filter the list of available terms based on what is actually available within the site. So when I click this selection, I will only see these two codes, these two chapters, because only data from these chapters is available within these demo sites. So I'm just going to drop this one. I want it to be at least 1 month, let's say, after the other reading. And then finally, just some exclusion criteria. For instance, let's say I want to exclude patients with acute myocardial infarction. And finally, to show you another constraint, a time constraint criterion, looking for patients treated with, excluding patients treated with insulin or analogs in the last 12 months. So I drop it on this placeholder, and now I'm happy with my query. I can save it. You can see here in how it is represented in a more condensed way. And once it's saved, I can also run it to a number of sites of interest. So you can see on this demo instance, there are actually 4 sites distributed over 4 countries. I can specify reference dates that I want to use for resolving the queries, meaning that I would be looking at the situation on February 1st, 2012 in this particular instance, and I'm looking for a target number of patients of 250. So I'm just launching this query. And now I'm taken to the results dashboard where I will be seeing the results once they come in from the site. So now this query has been formalized into an executable query and distributed over the network to these different sites that I have selected. And so this query is now being executed within each of these sites. And once I get the results back, they should be popping up on my screen. You can also see that I can filter the selection of criteria and the sites from this view. I can also specify minimum thresholds to rule out sites that are not yielding enough patients. So now you should see the results that I just got back. I found 120 patients in total, 60 coming from Finland, 30 from Spain, 30 from Germany, 30 for each site. You can see the breakdown according to countries and sites, and you can also see the top inclusive and exclusive criteria, and I can sort them in terms of which are the most inclusive, or in case of excluding criteria, which are the most exclusive or not. So this concludes the demo I wanted to show you. So to pass back to Deepak to give you a final summary of this webinar.
That's great. So thanks everyone again. David, thank you for that demonstration. I hope you've now got a better understanding of the capability of this platform. What you've seen there from David is the way in which feasibility queries can be run, and I think in the interest of time we haven't today gone into the steps that would then follow about supporting a hospital to identify the patients that it has which correspond to those criteria, so it can quickly contact them and try to bring them in and offer them the opportunity to be part of the study. But that's another of the very valuable contributions the platform makes. So what I'd like to do is just to now tell you a bit about how we want to build on the value of this platform. As I mentioned briefly earlier, we're well aware that the platform itself needs to grow the evidence base for how it delivers benefit to pharma and how also this can deliver benefit to healthcare, because we know that the organizations, the hospitals that have so far expressed enthusiasm to join this network, this platform and champion program, have seen a double win for themselves. And this is really building on what Matt said earlier. On the one side, they are delighted at the opportunity for being slicker and more efficient at participating in clinical studies, of being able to identify patients more efficiently, but also they're delighted to be more attractive to pharma as hospitals. But the other important benefit that they see is that using these tools on their own data internally, they will also gain some important business intelligence insights into the distribution of diagnoses of treatments and begin to start to look at treatment outcomes using the same tooling. So they see this as a tremendous value. What we are delighted by in the Champion program is that all of the pharma who are contributing to this program have agreed to undertake a common evaluation and to share their experiences of using the platform. So IHD as the institute will drive an evaluation program to show what the benefits are to pharma. We will also try to capture the benefits to hospitals from using the tools internally and aim to publish that and make that widely available. But another important signal we need to give society is that research itself delivers societal benefit. At the moment, there seems to be quite a disconnect between how society views health data when it's used for research or when it's shared, which is primarily negative press about breaches of privacy. And scientific research, breakthrough drugs, new medicines, which they tend to associate with pioneering clinicians and research investigators or companies, but they don't connect it to the data. So we really need to help emphasize to society that it's because we are using their data that we are able to advance science, and that therefore the discourse in society about privacy protection needs to be more proportionate, weighed up against also the benefits to society from using that data. And this is something that we want to promote very strongly. Another important area that the Institute will work with the hospitals on is growing a network of excellence. We have very exciting champion hospitals coming on board through the program. There are other hospitals who are not yet going to be connected, but are already excited at being downstream participants in this network. So we will be launching in the new year a network of excellence for hospitals, and this will include a number of collaborative areas, such as sharing and pooling educational resources and training resources. And our target priority for 2016 is data quality. So we would like to drive some initiatives and campaigns in hospitals to improve data quality so that the value of the data, as demonstrated by David, is enhanced by its richness and completeness and its accuracy. So we will be doing things like that. And our end game really is to deliver some quite substantial benefits that are combining, as it were, the benefits through healthcare and the benefits through research. For pharma, of course, the benefits which you can see on the left of the screen are the kind of ones you've heard about through this conversation today, about optimizing clinical trials, feasibility, recruitment, etc. But also don't forget that as the data quality goes up and as these channels into hospital EHRs become more substantiated and wider across more hospitals, real-world data access becomes much more realistic, much more scalable. And so the value of the data for observational studies and, of course, very soon for adaptive trials, adaptive licensing, we see these as exceptionally exciting to pharma. But you're not our only key stakeholder, and I've just got a second example stakeholder. We, of course, have these value propositions for all of the stakeholders, but we do see some value for patients, actually not only in the research side, such as developing innovative medicines and getting them out faster, but also that their healthcare becomes better connected, that they have better opportunities to participate in self-management and self-care through more joined-up health information. And of course, we know that many, many patients themselves are keen to participate in research. They don't always get to learn about the studies that they could join. By adding in the future a patient-facing portal to the demonstration that David described, patients can themselves discover if they are eligible for certain studies and then be given contact details of who to approach. So as a sort of final wrapping up slide from me, you've gathered already from this talk that the Institute, IHD, will be supporting the Champion program strongly in governance terms in ways I've described, but also supporting the scale-up of a research ecosystem through health data, through a network of excellence for hospitals. Another thing I didn't mention before is that we intend to undertake surveys among these hospitals about their ICT maturity, so we can start to help signposting to pharma which are the ICT mature hospitals who are making good uses of their electronic health record systems and are therefore likely to be very good targets for connecting to the platform and of providing their data for clinical research and for real-world data outcomes. In terms of where we go next in this journey, we are shortly going to be producing our membership pack for pharma and for other stakeholders. So if you are not part of the Champion program but interested in joining, we will shortly be telling you how you can do that and why you should do that, etc. I'm delighted to say that our Champion program pharma have already agreed to join this institute, and they will be our starting pharma members. The other thing to announce to you is that we are just finalizing plans for our inaugural conference at the end of February. We're still weighing up whether this should be in Brussels or Paris and checking on the venues, but hopefully within the next few weeks, I'll be able to circulate to you an invitation to sign up to this inaugural launch conference in one of those two cities, where we will be bringing together a lot of the hospitals that are very enthusiastic about research reuse and pharma and other stakeholders to learn much more than we've been able to do on this webinar, and also to interact with each other. So with that, I'd like to hand over to you, Mats, and thank you very much for the time you've given me.
So thank you, Deepak. I just would like, we have a couple of questions, but it is one of my final words as a coordinator. I think this is a time where the project can actually take the research and development activities into a commercial, real setting, and I think this is very exciting. I am very excited about that we have a Champion program with 7 pharma companies and potentially more coming in actually taking in sponsorship of hospitals they think should be connected to the platform. The whole ecosystem is, and the EHR4CR platform services and how it's developed is actually truly innovative. Its approach compared to what we have today, which is a fragmented silo environment with different data aggregators, not providing the opportunities to hospital to take care of their own data. EHR4CR is that kind of platform environment to grow. That is to say, is that hospitals can be involved in a completely new way, have full control of their own data. And if you remember, the Custodix Insight platform actually stands for 2 meanings. Insights means that it provides medical insights, but it's also that data stay inside their hospital sites. Together with, in order for this ecosystem to grow, actually depend on and allow on collaboration between both pharma, hospitals and service providers, but of course also uphold competitiveness. And that is ensured by the Institute. So the 2 important deliverables of the project, a sustainable, stable commercial platform and the Institute, is an exciting situation to move this forward through the champion program. One thing that I think I have been asked previously is that the 3 services or the 2 services that we are launching within the champion program is, of course, only the first type of services that, and a lot of more services should be part of this ecosystem. So I hope that you have been listening into this, has given the understanding where we are and also the important role of the Institute and also the steps that we are moving forward. I think we have 3 minutes left, and I think we have at least one question that is dealing with, and if we have already done some assessment tool to qualify if hospitals will be willing to join the champion program and connection to the platform. I think this is a question that I hand over to you, Deepak.
I didn't quite catch the question.
Right, so the question is what kind of measures we have. I think there are 2. If we have a tool for assessing hospitals that are qualified to be part of the platform, and I guess it's also underlined if we have an understanding if there are hospitals are willing to join the platform.
Yes, I mean, there is a need, obviously, that hospitals have a reasonable level of data quality in the data items that are the most important to support feasibility and protocol optimization. One is not expecting that many hospitals today are absolutely comprehensive in what they collect electronically in a structured and coded form. We know that everyone's on a journey towards that goal. So we do have to have a reasonable level of completeness of things like diagnoses and medication, etc. So there is a set of criteria, and we are working with custodics who have the obligation, obviously, to map their data into the data warehouse of what are the minimum data quality standards they need. But then we want to translate that into the network of excellence and to start to ramp up the quality expectations in the network, not in a punitive sense, but in an educational sense, that we start to grow the capability of hospitals to be great providers of data. So that's our end game.
Right. Thank you, Deepak. Another thing that for the 21 hospitals that is targeted to be part of the champion program, of course, each of them will be assessed and the first series of hospitals is already going to be assessed by custodics. So they have the right criteria and prerequisites to be part of the champion program. One thing that I think it's worth mentioning is that the EHR Insight platform actually it can be connected to EHR system independent of what kind of type of EHR system it is. So that sort of also provides a nice solution of interoperability across EHR systems. So I think another thing that, because time is running, is that this webcast is going to be recorded, and if you have further questions, you also have the contact details, and if you want the slide deck, please contact comms@ehr4cr.eu, and you will provide the information. I just hand over to, I think, the webcast organizers, because we are already trespassing on the 1600 hours time here. So with that, I thank you all for listening into this, and you will get more information on the EHR external websites as well on the upcoming Institute websites. Is that right, Deepak?
Yes, that website is almost, it's under development, but it's almost ready.
Right. So with that, I thank you all for visiting this website, and thank you.